Hi makers, my name is Sandy and I am the creator behind thePaperMasons. Come join me as I craft in the margins of my full-time life. This is my very first YouTube video. I set a few goals for 2026 and one of them was to have a video posted on my YouTube channel before my birthday, which today is the day because tomorrow is my 49th birthday and I'm not going to miss this goal. On my channel, you will find crochet tutorials, market prep videos, pattern tips, and really just the behind the scenes of my day-to-day business and how I run it. I've been crafting for about 10 years. I've done numerous crafts from acrylic tumblers to painting, t-shirts, invitations, vinyl, you name it, I did it. About 3 years ago, I decided that I wanted to make my children a keepsake for in case I'm not around or if they could pass it on to their children. I knew I can't sew. I cannot sew a straight line to save my life, so quilting was out. I couldn't stitch an item together, so I started looking on YouTube to see what types of crafts there were. And I came across a Rose and Lily crochet video, and it was her dinosaur plush, and I was mesmerized. I knew I had to try it. So I went out, I got a crochet hook, and I got a skein of yarn, and I sat there and I watched the video, and I made the dinosaur. And it was the ugliest stuffy you had ever seen. I have zero pictures of it. I'm sorry that I ripped it apart so fast, but boy did I frog that sucker, like, quick, because I didn't want to look at it. And I salvaged the yarn, but I still wanted to make them a keepsake. So I looked online and I found a pattern for a granny score blanket. And I did that with success. That was perfect. It was a repetitive motion. It enabled me to work on holding my hook, holding the yarn, worked on my tension. And by the end, when I had completed the blanket, I was hooked. I loved it. And so I did more blankets. I did a corner to corner. I did a moss stitch blanket. I did a star blanket. I was consistently watching Jada and Stitches and Bag-A-Day Crochet. Both of those creators have wonderful educational videos, perfectly paced, where a noob like me was able to self-teach and get through these patterns and complete projects. And it was amazing. I still wanted to make a plushie though. My social media feeds were all filled with amigurumis because I'm, looking at videos about crochet and techniques and types of stitches. That's what just popped up all over my feed. And I really wanted to make one. They look so cool. So as I was working with the acrylic yarns, I started making acrylic plushies because I found that acrylic yarn was definitely more forgiving than plush yarn. And so I made quite a few. My kids' school was having a craft fair, and as I said, I've been crafting for many years, and I'm usually invited to sell my stuff. So I said yes. My husband really wanted me to take my new plushies, and I kind of fought him on it. I wasn't sure about the quality or if people would like them or if they would even sell. I had never seen a crochet plushie out in the wild. And I decided why not. So we took the plushies, and I would say that they sold out. I immediately sold out of them, actually. Even before the fair opened, like the kids of the parents who were helping put the craft fair on had already purchased all of the stock. But they were there to enjoy the day, so as they went through their day playing with their new stuffies, they were showing their friends. And their friends were coming to my table and asking if I had more, which I didn't. But that night I went home and I immediately started working on my skills. I was crocheting everywhere, on the bus, on the train, days off. If I could be holding a hook and yarn, I was crocheting something. And one day it clicked. I was able to do the virus shawl. I was able to read patterns. And throughout all of it, I was having a great time. Like, I really, really enjoyed this craft. But I really wanted to make a soft plushed animal. Nothing against acrylic yarn, but also acrylic yarn really dried out my skin, and I would have to take a break from it. I wasn't able to crochet with it as long as I could with chenille plush yarn right now. But like I said, I really wanted to make one, but none of the yarns were right for me. I tried Sweet Snuggles, Big Twist, Bernat Blanket, Loops and Thread, like all of them. And I felt like Goldilocks. Bernat was too thick. Loops and Thread, I don't know if I pulled too hard or what the issue was, but it was always breaking and snapping. And I didn't like the feel of Big Twist. And so I couldn't find a yarn that I could use. And then one day I was watching a video by Crochet by Jenna, and she was talking about like her top 10 items or her top favorite things for her crochet. And she talked about using an iPad mini, and she talked about using Notability to keep track of her patterns and rows and being able to write and take notes. And those were amazing tips. Like, I went out and I purchased an iPad mini and I downloaded Notability, and I love them and I use them every single day. Then she said the magic words. She said Premier Parfait Chunky, her favorite yarn. I had never heard of it before. Up until this point, I had only shopped at Michael's and Joann's for yarn. They don't sell that. I went online, I found a place that sells it, and I had it within like a week to 10 days. And it has been magical ever since. It was exactly the yarn that I needed. It was slightly forgiving, where if I made a mistake in the round, I didn't ruin the whole project. I was able to frog back enough to fix my errors multiple times, whereas some of the other yarns, if I miscounted, too many stitches, too little stitches, and I tried to frog as gently as possible, it still wasn't gentle enough, and I would either have to restart the entire project or cut it from there. And so with Premier Parfait, I didn't have to do that. And yes, there are unreliable skeins. I have had damaged skeins. I have had really funky feeling yarn. There are certain colors that it's like, give or take. Like white sometimes is like butter, and other times it is like the stiffest cotton string you've ever felt, and it's like, ugh, and it squeaks. And then other colors are like, I love using pink lemonade to make my axolotls, and sometimes the yarn is thick and plush and wonderful, and other times it's like fuzzy and weird, and it's one of the discontinued yarns as well. But the color, the actual color, is wonderful for axolotls. But all in all, I would say that the Premier Parfait Chunky line doesn't irritate my skin. It is forgiving, and the colors and the ease of crocheting with it outweighs any issue I have ever had. And while now, yes, I do use some Bernat Blanket yarns, I have used Big Twist, I have used Loops and Thread, my number one yarn is still Premier, and I don't really see that changing. But I crocheted so many stuffed animals, I didn't know what to do with them. I could give them to my kids, but I mean, I could only gift so many. So what do I do with them? I started looking at ways to sell my products. And I found craft fairs, but I could never really tell if they were legitimate craft fairs or if they were going to just like take my money and run. I joined Facebook groups and all kinds of things, and eventually I did find some craft shows that were legitimate, and I found success in my market for my small business, where I am very happy with the income that I was able to bring in that first year. The second year, it was even better because I found better craft shows and more consistency. And so I did try selling on Etsy. I cannot sell crochet plushies on Etsy to save my life. I don't know what the deal is. I am overwhelmed with the amount of compliments and oohs and ahs that I get at craft shows, and then I can't sell anything on Etsy, and I don't know how to fix that. But this is the year for me. We're going to figure this out. And I also did open a Square site, but I could not drive traffic. You know, if you are familiar with the 4 burner idea, like there are things that I had to focus on, such as my full-time job and my kids, learning my craft and figuring out where to sell, that I couldn't really deal with the marketing, and I couldn't really focus on fixing whatever was wrong with Etsy or with my Square site. So what I did was I tuned that down, and I focused on making a .com for like a portfolio. So when I applied for craft shows, people had a place to go and look at what my work looked like, and that improved. And so I have found that my success year after year is growing. So this year, what I really wanted to do was focus on my social media and finding bigger craft shows. You know, I could make 20 capybaras and sell 20 capybaras per show, but if I'm doing a weekly show, it's really difficult to go back and make that amount of stock. And so I thought that I would concentrate this year on finding larger shows with bigger gaps in between. And what I would really love to do is to lend my voice to the other wonderful creators on YouTube, and hopefully be able to help someone just starting out on how to find profitable craft shows, what to sell at these craft shows, and use and share the tools that I created over the last few years to help my business grow. Like, I created Excel tools to help me find my profitability, keep track of my inventory, help me do my taxes at the end of the year, and really help my pricing structure with my plushies, so I knew what my margins were. So I wasn't undervaluing my plushies and I wasn't overvaluing them. It was just the right amount. And so if this sounds like a journey that you would like to take with me, please give me a like, a follow, and a subscribe, and check out my next video for my favorite ways to find profitable craft shows in your areas. Thank you.